Lauren is alive and well now, but went through a frightening experience. Lauren, thank you so much for talking with us. You started feeling ill 10 days after getting the AstraZeneca dose. Can you describe the symptoms and what you noticed that made you go to the hospital?
I started with a horrendous headache. I was really breathless. I had a high temperature. So worst case scenario for me personally was that I thought I had COVID, which I'd not had before. So I went that evening to get a COVID test, which come back negative. And that evening I noticed that I had a horrendous pain in my left leg, like in my calf. The ambulance came out. They took all like my observations, so like my blood pressure, temperature, things like that. And everything was normal. They were just a bit concerned with how breathless I was and the pain in my leg. So I arrived at the A&E department and I was immediately put into like an isolation room.
So now you're in the hospital. You know you don't have COVID, but you don't know what you have. Had you made any link to the vaccine at this point?
I personally hadn't, but whilst I was in this room in the hospital, my boyfriend actually messaged me like a screenshot of a news report about the AstraZeneca, and I think it was that they were pausing it and investigating the thing about blood clots, and he said it could be this. And at this point, I hadn't even put two and two together and even thought that that could be the thing, that the reason.
So you were sent home, given a blood thinner and sent home. What happened next?
I got a phone call on the Wednesday morning to go back to the hospital for a CT scan on my lungs. I still wasn't feeling well. I had the CT scan and then I got put into a waiting room. And at this point, I had horrendous pain in my leg. I was probably sat there for about half an hour. And then a member of staff came over to me because I was crying again because I was in a lot of pain and I was obviously worried. I got put into like a side ward into a bed, and literally about 5 minutes later, two doctors and a consultant came over to me. And then he said, basically, you have blood clots on your lungs and we assume it's from the AstraZeneca vaccine. At this point, I broke down in tears because I was really, really worried. I'm only 32. I've got a 4-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old son. And to be told that I had blood clots on my lungs, which is deadly, was scary. And I did actually ask him, am I going to die? And he said, we need to start treatment as soon as possible. After all these tests, it come back that the blood clots were in my leg. I think they presume that that's where they started, and then they travelled to my lungs. Luckily, there was no blood clots on my brain.
You're still waiting to find out if it's officially related to the vaccine, but the doctors who you have seen so far certainly suspect that.
On my discharge notes, it says vaccine-induced thrombosis and thrombocytopenia. Every single doctor that I've seen has said that they've never, ever seen this kind of blood reaction and clots and things in anyone.
You don't have any previous history of blood clots?
I've never had blood clots in my life. But now I've been told that obviously I have these blood clots. I'm now severely anemic. I'm vitamin D deficient. I had severely low blood platelets.
So let me go back to when you had the vaccine, Lauren. Did you have any hesitancy before you took the AstraZeneca vaccine?
Honestly, no. There was a time when I was in hospital. On the Thursday, I woke up with a horrendous headache. I was in so much pain. I actually I sent a text message to my family and my boyfriend saying that I don't know if I'm going to wake up because I'm in that much pain. And the nurses were trying to say to me, basically, you've had all your tests on your head. There's no blood clot on your brain. But I said, well, that doesn't mean to say that no blood clots can now, a blood clot could still travel to my brain. Yeah, that was the one point when I really honestly thought that I wasn't going to wake up.
I'm so sorry for the ordeal you went through. It just sounds gut-wrenching. Lauren, what do you tell your friends and family now who are still waiting to be vaccinated?
I honestly don't think that they should be given the AstraZeneca vaccine out due to the fact that there's even been one death of blood clots. So it just worries me that any other person that could have the vaccine could become ill, think, oh, it's COVID. They either get a test or they don't, and just maybe isolate, not get proper medical help and possibly die. Because I didn't know the symptoms that I had meant I had a blood clot at all.
You should, in theory, be getting a second AstraZeneca dose. Obviously, you're not going to do that, right?
No, my doctor advised me not to get that because I would end up in hospital again. It's not something that you ever think that is going to happen to you.
Lauren, thank you so much for sharing your story with us, and glad you're feeling better, and I hope it improves much more. Thank you so much.
Thank you.